Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick, Cornett, and Kent Meyers, happy to be with you. Each week we're here meeting interesting people and talking about topical issues. And this week we'll be talking to an expert about the oil industry and energy in general.
Energy in general, it's certainly a topic on everybody's mind all the time with $100 oil and the like, and of course very expensive gasoline prices in the process. But it's something that we need to focus on a little bit and find out what's going on in Oklahoma, what's going on nationally, and what's going on internationally.
That's right. A global perspective today of the energy sector and talking with Mark Stansberry. It's all coming up next on The Verdict. Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Yeah, today we're very pleased to have Mark Stansberry, the chairman of GTD Group, joining us as a guest on The Verdict. He did his undergraduate work right here in Oklahoma at Oklahoma Christian University, and he's now a trustee at Oklahoma Christian University. He's been active in the energy sector both locally, nationally, and internationally for 30-some years now. He is the chairman of the State Energy Committee for the State Chamber of Commerce, and he has been active in energy circles not only locally but internationally for a number of years. He is the recent author of a book called The Breaking Point, which we'll talk more about in a minute. This is his first visit to The Verdict. Mark, welcome.
Thank you so much.
The GTD Group, what does it do?
The GT Group stands for Global Trade Development. We founded the company back in the late 90s, and it the focus is international trade as well as energy, even though we have other areas, sectors that we work in, construction, environmental, and others. We have an alliance with a group in Washington, D.C. called BKSH. They have offices in 24 cities internationally, and that helps us provide consultants, professionals. They have over 2,000 professionals worldwide. So we're able to tap into that and to bring Oklahoma into the international play as far as exports, but also in energy sector as well. And we have offices here in Washington, D.C., and also, of course, Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
You've written this book, Mark, called The Breaking Point. Mick's going to hold it up for us. But it's spelled B-R-A-K-I-N-G, Breaking Point. Tell us about that. What is the message of your book? Why did you write this book?
I wrote the book because when I gave speeches across the country, I'd find that there were so many, misinformation, that the oil and gas industry was the culprit that caused all the problems, that we needed to do away with the oil and gas industry, and that we needed to just look at renewables and so forth. Well, it's great to have the energy mix, and I think the energy mix is so important, but the oil and gas industry is so vital. And so the book is written to show that shows the past, a history, shows the present, where we are today, and the future. And we look at it from a standpoint that the EIA, which is the Energy Information Administration, projects that we have reserves of about 40 years of oil, 60 years of natural gas.
You're talking about internationally?
We're talking about internationally.
Yeah.
And we feel that the opportunity for Oklahoma, for example, is tremendous, and the nation. And so we should take a lead, and the breaking point means stop. Let's re-examine where we are, where we're going to go. We're reaching, right now, the refining capacity is at peak. We reached peak oil in America in 1970, and where are we going now internationally? And so we need to stop, re-examine where we're going, what's the best way to approach it, in the next 20 years. And we see that renewables are a factor, but we're looking at, as far as the EIA, they said the next 20 years we're only going to have 10% as far as consumed using renewables. So we have some challenges ahead of us.
Mark, looking through your book, I noticed something that startled me. I wouldn't have predicted it at all, but you point out that there hasn't been a new refinery built in this country in 20-some-odd years.
That is correct.
That absolutely, considering the price of oil, price of gasoline, one would think that new refineries would be constructed. Why is that the case?
What occurred over the years is, of course, environmental compliance rulings and so forth, regulations, and so it got to the point that it was so difficult to fight the regs and environmental compliance that there were no refineries built.
And it's been proposed that Oklahoma would be a good site for one.
No
because,
question about it.
This population is probably going to be more receptive to the idea, and it's probably less scared of big oil and big energy and fossil fuel, in general.
Sure.
And we have a number already.
That's right.
That's right. And you take Cushing Field, for example, the Cushing pipeline being the pipeline crossroads of America. And yes, I think we do have great opportunities that way.
Short term, where are we headed with the price of oil?
Price of oil is, well, that's a good question. Wish I had the crystal ball and the answer, but I believe that there's so many different factors. The geopolitical situation that we have could drive the prices up or down. Whether we have a recession or not is whether it's global or just in America that we have a recession is one thing. But right now we're going to see some price swings, and yes, I think we'll see some prices over the $100 barrel.
It hasn't been very long ago that I read in the newspaper an article that absolutely startled me and apparently startled a lot of other people because of the response to it. But it was a picture of Boone Pickens predicting that someday, not too far from then, the price of oil will be $100 a barrel.
Right.
Well, it didn't take very long for that to happen, although people were startled when he said it.
Yeah, and it may be more steady. If the economy continues as far as world economy, and the demand, for example, in China and Russia and India occur, especially China, India, we're going to see some prices go above $100 for a steady period of time, much more than $100 a barrel. We're looking at, for example, in America, we use 2.8 gallons per person per day. In China, 0.2 gallons per day. The increase in demand is definitely going to occur because of appliances, cars, and so forth that Chinese are definitely wanting to purchase. So the demand is going to be there. Now, can we meet the supply? I don't know. That's a factor we're talking about today.
I was again struck. Viewers think I probably just sit around being struck all the time, but I was at the announcement of this Tata vehicle, which is a brand new mini car that they introduced in India about a week or so ago. That's going to get unbelievable gas mileage,
$2,500,
and it's going to cost $2,500. Well, the good news is it's going to cost $2,500. The bad news is it's going to cost $2,500 because that's going to make it available to so many more people in India than have a car now, that it's going to increase the demand for gasoline just exponentially.
No question.
And it's exactly, I think, falling into what you were talking about.
No question. And that goes right back to the book, the breaking point. Yeah. We're at a stopping point. We need to re-examine. We need to look at where we are going. The increase, again, the EIA figures, oil over the next 20 years is going to increase, as far as consumption, 33%, natural gas over 60% as far as the consumption level, and then we look at the demand for electricity, 40%. Are we going to be able to keep up with that? We're barely keeping up with it today. In America, we have 5% of the population of the world, and we use 25% of the energy. And yet, when we bring in the factor of China and India and other countries that are emerging, where are we going to be?
Well, we want to talk about OPEC, we want to talk about alternative fuels and how Oklahoma and the natural gas industry fits into all that. Mark Stansberry is our guest today on The Verdict, and we'll be right back.